Ahoy, Captain. Truth be told, Ferrante half expects us to get our asses blown out of the water at Fort Deadlight. Fortunately for you, I have this bad habit of beating the odds. Of course, I do that by way of good old traditional chicanery. And the most important part of any hornswoggle? Solid planning. Well, that and surviving.
What can you tell me about Fort Deadlight?
Valiant made originally. Piled them stones up a few centuries back, but gave it up when the fishmen wouldn't leave them be. Hard to defend against Wilder crawling up out of your crappers. Captain Aldiz claimed it a few years back. Fucking filthy from bow to stern, and she had her lads and lasses cleaning fish shit out of the floorboards for months. A couple of them thought it might be better sailing elsewhere and left in the night. Aldiz tracked them down quick as you like, took their heads, and fixed them into little lanterns for the front gate. Called them Fort Deadlight's Deadlights. They say she ain't had a deserter since. Tad cruel for my taste, but I admit to admiring the wordplay.
Do you know anything about the fort's defenses?
Funny thing about it being a fort means it ain't a boat. Means it don't have to worry about the way the cannons are storing honking big balls. Guns they got crowning that castle put a hole in your poop deck before you've sighted land. Fort itself be floor to ceiling rum-sodden fools, so that be going for us. But Aldi's keeps the crew on the walls sharp and sober. One blast of their horns and Deadlight's locked up tight as an endearing mugger night. We'll stay that way too, till any unfamiliar ships have been shot to shit and shot again.
What do you know of Eldis?
She's sharp as shit, that one. Tongue, mind, and ears alike. Sailed out of Deerwood or Adir one. Knows her knots, and how to crew a ship that won't turn sour. But words ring out among the Principe, more than you'd think for new blood. Part of that's her fierce support of freedom, from slavers, from the empires, from the Juana's caste system even. The rest a lenient hand. Step out of line and Ferrante's got your old crew up for lashes. Aldiz, though, she's, let's say there's a reason she attracts limp-cocked nut twists like Benwith. Can't say I much approve of a lack of regard for our traditions, but, can't say I don't share her vexations with Ferrante and the old guard, neither.
He runs a furred paw over his braided beard. Why are you frustrated with the old guard?
Shit, Captain. Buy a lad a drink before you go rooting through his unmentionables.
He smiles, though, thumbs hooked in his belt.
Let's leave it enough for now to say I think there be a course to be charted betwixt anarchy and tyranny.
You mentioned you have contacts at the fort. Can we rely on their help?
I did say contacts, didn't I?
Seraphin rubs the back of his head as he takes a sudden studious interest in his boots.
Contact would be more accurate, in the singular. A lass by the name of Siri. Been running the same circles for years, doldrums and fair winds. We're never family, but never on the wrong ends of arms, neither. Might have shaken the sheets a few months back. Regardless of how she feels about me, there's no love lost betwixt her and Benwith, that's for damn certain.
Your contact is some random lover of yours.
Ugh, random? What do you take me for, Captain?
The scourge of hearts throughout the Deadfire.
Well, I can't say as you're entirely wrong.
He grins all teeth. Do you have a plan in mind to get us into the fort?
Oh, you be asking me for a plan. Frankly, I were curious to witness how the famed Watcher of Cad Nua would penetrate the impenetrable. But since you asked, just give me a tick.
Seraphin pauses to think. He strokes one of his beard braids.
Vast. I might have pulled a plan out of this hairy blue ass after all. Way I see it, we have an option or two ranging from the wildly dangerous to the fantastically suicidal. So tell you me, Cap, what be your preferred approach to problems unapproachable?
I simply outsmart my adversaries.
Smart play for crashing any party involves scavenging yourself up an invite, and then dressing to impress.
He puffs out his chest, thumbs tucked into the fine fabric of his shirt. So, look the part.
Aye, Captain, from stem to stern. Looking the part in this case means hoisting colours identifying us as Principe.
His left ear twitches.
Don't have to tell you how dangerous such a bit of fabric can be if the wrong person catches you flying it.
How hard could it be to purchase a flag?
Well, Principe captains don't just give up their flags for a few coins.
He scratches his rump, head cocked to one side.
Nekitaka's black market. If there be a Principe flag for sale, it'll be there. Mark it up and relocates every so often to avoid the Royal Guard. We'll just have to find wherever it currently be anchored.
Then we'll attack a Principe ship and capture their flag.
Swapping cannonballs with my fellow Principe ain't my favorite idea you've ever had. But do what you have to do, Captain. Might be tricky to not damage the flag in battle, or sink the ship on accident.
Let's discuss another plan.
Deadlight's a tough coconut to crack. But if not cracking, what are nuts for?
We could sneak our way in.
Might be there's a way to sneak inside. Bet we can find a shady spot to tie up a skiff under the veil of night. Then up the walls and over, quick as you please. Sussing out a place to land without being spotted ourselves require Helia's own eyes. Or a spyglass. You've got a spyglass, I hope.
Don't you have a spyglass?
Yeah, sure, used to. Then I made the mistake of lending it to Ferrante. Apparently forgot it weren't his.
A low growl builds beneath his grumbling.
Showed him the S I carved into it and he turned around and told me it stood for spyglass. There's an important lesson to be learned there. You take something to see, you hold grip on it real tight.
I don't have a spyglass.
Oh, then let me recommend you remedy yourself there, Captain. A good spyglass be like a good lover. Shows you the bits you'd have missed otherwise. Deadlight's a tough coconut to crack. But if not cracking, what are nuts for?
Let's do a frontal assault.
Yeah, if you insist on a straightforward approach, you could always load the old with powder and balls and hope the walls of Deadlight give before you roll. Here's hoping you've practiced your breaststroke, savvy? If you breach the walls, you still got the guards to attend to. Adding to that a mess of pirates in multitudinous states of insobriety. And probably dress. I'm all ears, Captain.
Let's speak of this later.
Later, sure. No hurry here to ship off back to the Gentlemen of Leisure.
Ship life sure is an adventure, ain't it? Just think of all the places we can sail to, all the sights we could see. This is nothing like being stuck on a farm, or cloistered in the back of a temple.
Zoti wraps her sickle against her thigh as she studies the boat's layout. Satisfied by whatever she sees, she tilts her head to you with a small smile.
Tell me what's on your mind?
How are you feeling? Have you suffered any recent nightmares?
They're there in my head when I sleep. And sometimes I can taste them on the back of my tongue like a smear of grit. Happens when I take in a particularly volatile soul.
Don't worry, we'll figure something out.
Will we? Ought we? I just don't know.
Pinching the bridge of her nose with dirty fingers, Zoti sighs.
I trust you, Watcher. I swear I do. I worry sometimes about what's gonna happen to me. But, well, it's not like I can turn my back on my duty to my god, even if it kills me.
Alorth nods, a quiet smile etched across his lips. What are your thoughts on Iothus?
We talking during the Saints' War or after he died?
What's the difference?
Well, before he died, he was still Aethys as the majority of my brethren know him. Aethys embodied a human, and when that human got blown to bits, we all believed Aethys died. And I think a part of him did, the part he'd most closely woven into living flesh, the part that represented life, and rebirth after death. Which means the part of him that could have survived, that stormed across the Deadfire seas, was the side more aligned with obsidian, rot, and falling away. That which is death. No need to fiddle-foot around. I'm listening.
That's all for now.
You need me, I'll be 2 whoops and a holler away.
Thank you again for maintaining my story in front of Vanessa and the others.
He gives you a grateful smile that fades almost as quickly as it appears.
I didn't enjoy deceiving them, but it seemed simpler than the alternative.
And lonelier. You seemed to care for them, but they didn't really know you.
I'm working against one of the most secretive organizations in all of Aora.
The faint trace of a smile forms on Edair's lips.
One with a rather troubled history as far as animancy is concerned. That's not the sort of thing one shares with new friends.
He pauses and shifts his shoulders as if working out a kink.
Believe me, I take no pleasure in duplicity.
I don't know, Aloth. You've gotten rather good at it.
I've certainly had my share of practice these last 5 years.
Remind me, how do we know one another?
Ah, the steward told me about your incident at Cadnua.
He cocks his head and gives you a searching look.
Aethys took a piece of your soul. I suppose it's only natural to lose a few memories along with it. You and I met in Gilded Vale, shortly after your arrival in Deerwood and in the midst of my run-in with the locals.
He gives you a tight, uncomfortable smile.
If that bampot was chafing his own mother's daughter, worth no ill of mine for noticing.
His expression briefly melts into a wickedly mischievous grin as Isilmir, his awakened personality, emerges and recedes. I remember, Isilmir accused a man of indiscretions with his own sister.
Just so.
His mouth quirks into a small grin even as the tips of his ears turn pink.
I was with you as you sought Theos and answers regarding your awakening.
He clasps his hands and takes a deep breath.
And you helped me come to terms with mine. You hearken this? So many years and still he's cold as a crack in his teeth. I've learned to appreciate Isilmir's decisiveness, if not her way with words.
I'm glad you're doing better. His smile falters. The moment is brief enough that you might not even notice it if you weren't already used to his subtle deflections and evasions.
Back to our journey across the Deerwood. We pursued Theos and discovered the leaden key at the center of Widewind's legacy.
He frowns and a deep crease appears between his eyebrows.
And, more importantly, a millennia-old conspiracy to conceal the true origins of the gods.
At least we ended the Hollowborn scourge. I wish we could have restored all the children of the Deerwood.
So do I. After we parted, I set out to destroy the leaden key. It's controlled us for too long. I wanted to free Kith from it. So for 5 years, I've been tracking down leaden key circles, searching for the places where they operate in secret.
He knits his brows. Soti nibbles on her lip to hide a spreading smile.
Trying to undo them.
Just make sure they can never again commit an atrocity like Widewind's legacy. He gives you a wan smile.
The task has been more difficult than I anticipated. I don't think I fully understood the weight of the decisions I would have to make, or the burden of living with them. It was much easier when I only had to follow someone else's lead. My father's, Theos's. Yours?
He glances at you out of the corner of his eye. Is there some way I can help?
I wish I knew. After we defeated Theos, I thought the hard part of undoing his work would be tracking down the Leaden Key's members and operations.
Maybe he had an address book. Too bad you burned his robes. He gives you an appreciative smile, but his mind is clearly elsewhere. Adair seems pleased. Zoti lifts her chin in interest.
Perhaps this would be easier with an example. I went to a village in Old Valia, a run-down backwater of a place. Aye, right home like it was.
Alorth's expression shifts as Isilmir briefly emerges.
Centuries ago, the Leaden Key had intervened to end some heretical cult. The details were lost, but what had endured was a practice of ritual bloodletting. A gruesome, pointless tradition. At every full moon, the villagers would feed the soil with their blood. No one, young or old, sick or hale, was exempt.
You helped them, right?
That's where it gets complicated.
He frowns at his interlaced fingers.
The village priest administered the practice. Grim old fellow. Reminded me of Theos.
He raises an eyebrow at you.
Wicked old bunbag, 'tis what the lad means.
He was a tyrant. I was certain that if the villagers were free of his influence, they'd be free from the bloodletting too. So I arranged for him to have an accident.
He gives you a sly look. Zoti flicks her sickle back and forth, agitated. That seems like one of Theos's dirty tricks. I'd expect you to act with honor.
I did it for the right reasons. Not that this changed much. The old man died, and the villagers were terrified. They were convinced his death was an ill omen. They blamed it, and every other mishap that befell them, on their lack of faith. So they began bloodletting every week, turning on their neighbors for giving too little.
His lips twist as if the words themselves have a bitter taste.
Instead of a handful dying each year, a few perished every week.
He's worked the edge of his sash into a tight knot. He clenches it between pale, rigid fingers. You couldn't have known that would happen. This isn't your fault.
I had to do something, didn't I?
He turns to you with wide, anguished eyes. He pauses again, untwisting the sash at his lap.
I keep wondering what I might have done differently, or how I could have known better.
Learning from mistakes like this is a good start.
I suppose so. I should get some rest. It's been a long day, and you've given me a lot to think about.
Wait, you still haven't told me what the Animancers have to do with any of this?
Ah, that.
He massages his temples.
I'm looking for an old Leaden Key sect. I've found several references, but
He breaks off, shaking his head.
I want to be sure. Please, let me go over my notes again. Then I promise I'll tell you everything.
This isn't about your notes. You're second-guessing yourself. Again.
You know me too well. All the same, I need to gather my thoughts.
We'll talk more later then.
I must say, our adventures together have been a welcome change of pace.
Careful or you're going to make me blush.
You know what I mean. When we first met in the Deerwood, you were struggling for your sanity. Now you're fighting for your soul. I can't imagine the weight of that burden. And yet you've borne it, and more remarkably.
Things have gotten dire, but I won't let that get me down.
That's precisely what I mean.
His expression brightens with sudden emotion.
The gods have sent you after Aethys, and every power of note in Deadfire has their own plans for you.
He tilts his head.
That puts you in a position of incredible influence. It is sometimes difficult to gauge what truly matters to you.
He squints thoughtfully.
But I'm pleased to see that you don't take your responsibilities lightly.
Circumstances put me in a position to help others.
If only more people thought as you do. I hope you'll remember this in the days to come.
He gives you a thoughtful nod.
Hey, this brings back some memories, huh?
How do you like the Deadfire?
The air's different. Especially compared to Gilded Vale, where there's more livestock than shovels. Sounds different, too. You wake up to all those bird calls, it really does sound like they're making music. If the birds woke you in Gilded Vale, it was usually a couple crows making the most horrible mating noises you ever heard. Strange thing is, I still get this feeling in me, like I wish I was home.
What did you do after we ended the Legacy?
I like that feeling, knowing we'd stopped Theos. We were part of something big. That was something I never felt before, not even at war. Guess I went looking for it again. Not that I wanted to tangle with gods, but something smaller. Something I thought I could manage. I looked all around the Deerwood, but that place has too many ghosts for me. Things I'd just as soon forget. Ended up moving to Adir and tracking down my parents. They went there as refugees after the war ended.
Did you find a way to be useful?
In part, I guess. Adir, they still got some bad blood with Deerwood. Goes back to the Revolution. Some Adirans like to give Deerwoodans a hard time they get the chance. With my folks, a group came along and tried to take their land. Made a phony claim to it.
What did you do?
I sat down with them and we had a friendly negotiation. One fella, I don't think he'll ever be able to look to his right again. But we came to an understanding. My folks, well, they didn't see me the same after that. I think they'd have rather given up the land than have it come to violence. And I don't know if that was something we could have avoided or if it was the cost of trying to fix things.
Let me ask you about something else.
If you like.
What are your thoughts on Iothas at the moment?
I want the destruction to stop. I want him to finish what he's doing and then go in peace. Only I don't see it playing out that way.
Let's get moving. Through the distant haze of sea mist and rocky shadows, Fort Deadlight rises over the horizon. Approaching a pirate stronghold is a risky venture even for the most skilled of mariners. Any ship not flying a Principe flag that's sighted in Deadlight's shallows may be raided. Seraphon approaches your side and speaks up. "Abaddon's iron scrote, Cap," he says. "Them guns be even bigger than I remember." Seraphon looks up at the fortress from the deck and inhales through his teeth. "I can be vouchsafing you with the guards," he reassures you. "If you can be getting us to dock without being blasted to bits thrice over. Otherwise, I be recommending the sneakier approach you got," he finishes. "You hoist up the Principe flag from the wreckage you found earlier and dock at Deadlight's port." With a Principe flag flapping wildly from your mast, you smoothly sail into port and mount up at the dock. The docks are crawling with sailors of all ages and races, many of them wearing mismatched, battle-torn outfits, guns strapped to their thighs and chests. They load and unload cargo holds, arms brawny, grinning faces sun-blistered as they laugh and curse and shout and hack phlegm onto the splintered boards of the dock. From the bustle, Principe guards emerge to hail your arrival. Satisfied with appearances, they nod you on, and you make your way up to the fort's main gate.